Welcome to True Health Tuesday, and the truth will set you free. Okay, thoracic outlet syndrome. Now, I was going to do a Q&A, kind of, and this is for a friend who's a professional sports guy, and we're going to go over what this injury is and how it's corrected. But, just be careful. Anytime you see syndrome like fibromyalgia syndrome, carpal tunnel syndrome, understand that they're not treating the cause. These guys are completely insane. Patrick Henry, okay, one of the revolutionaries that started our country. Should I keep back my opinions at such a time? Through fear of giving offense, I should consider myself guilty of treason towards my country. So this wasn't self-censorship. It was a duty to speak the truth, even if you were going to offend someone. Just a totally different time. Okay, now this, Never Again, is now global. I completely recommend go to Children's Health Defense. It's free, but you're going to learn a lot of things about the German Nazi control and control of society. I don't know if any of this stuff would sound familiar. Well, you guys are homeschooled, so it'll make sense to you guys. Okay, but people in regular school would not be aware of this generally. Public health was militarized. This means that back then, if they suspected you had an illness or you were defective in their judgment, okay, and they would say this is for your protection, turn in your neighbor. Non-compliance with their authorities was considered unpatriotic, and it was for national security. No correlate with today. Okay, so all the private portion, we're going to get into this to talk about detail. And we've been demonetized, deplatformed, everything. If you see the like button at the bottom, hit it. If you see the subscribe button, hit it. We're going to try and get us back up because the shadow banning is driving me nuts. And those that are supporting us through Dr. BVIP, thank you, thank you, thank you. These are to build the PowerPoints and to hire everybody and to hire the editors. Your support is greatly appreciated. And Extreme Health Academy, a brilliant group. We're actually adding some employees on there so we can answer people faster because the forums are just blowing up. Now, when we look at thoracic outlet, you're going to see this is the thoracic. The outlet is up here. And it's shaped just about like this, except in there, you got a spinal cord, you've got blood vessels, you've got an air tube, a food tube, all this stuff. So if your neck is off, you're going to be altering that outlet to the thoracic area. Now, just for the heck of it, what kind of things come from the neck? Well, headaches, carpal tunnel syndrome, shoulder rotator cuff problems, asthma, bursitis, neuropathy. Now, the overlooked causes, 3 overlooked causes for shoulder: neurologic, vascular, and mechanical. Neurologic, you've got a shoulder that has 18 muscles that hold it next to the rib cage. You've got one bony attachment called the clavicle. You've got all the nerves called the brachial plexus that come out and supply this whole shoulder girdle. So if you choke off the nerve supply, it's not going to function correctly. If you choke off the blood supply, it's not going to function correctly. If you alter the mechanical aspect, so you've got neurologic, vascular, and mechanical. This is a mechanical distortion. So the ear should be in line with the shoulder. If your head's forward or off to the side, you're compromising the outlet to the thoracic area. So when I'm talking to this guy, okay, and I'm talking to doctors, you have the outlet to the thoracic, and I don't know why in my brain, it makes perfect sense. If the head is forward, are you compromising that outlet? Okay, am I going too fast, or do you just want to say, duh? Okay, it's like, duh. Okay, you've got to correct that forward head posture. I mean, it's like insane. So if you have a normal opening, this area here is the thoracic area. If you have forward head carriage, it's not going to work right. Now, the brachial plexus is the nerve that supplies there. So if you have a problem with the nerves that supply that area, it's not going to work correctly. Now, what you've got is you've got this bone's called the humerus. It's held in a socket by muscles called rotators. And the labrum or the socket that's held in there, if you ever see it in a real live dead person, I know that, okay, real person that used to be alive that's currently dead, okay, and you're working on them, okay, it feels like you just microwave Tupperware. Okay, it's thick, but it's amazing structure. Now, the head to the biceps, the long head, is actually attached to the top of this. And so this socket that holds it is incredibly mobile. I mean, you got fantastic range of motion. But if those rotator cuff muscles that hold it in place get weak, it doesn't fall out, it falls up. Plus, if you strain it, so remember, if you have to have compromised blood supply and nerve supply, then that shoulder doesn't work right. Now, let's see what the medical approach is, because, just right now in the first couple of slides, probably from the neck, more than likely, compromised blood supply and nerve supply. What's the medical approach? I mean, bicipital tendonitis, it's going to be compromised nerve supply, but this is kind of any kind of shoulder issue. And this is the same kind of therapy for thoracic outlet, by the way. Cold packs, well, that's interesting. You have swelling, inflammation is how the body heals. So ice, if it's in the first 24 hours, that kind of makes sense. But after that, it's stupid. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, okay, ibuprofen, aspirin, Aleve. Okay, this destroys the building block of cartilage. And it's stopping the inflammation or decreasing the inflammation process, and inflammation is how the body heals. Okay, survey says dumb or dumber. Okay, yeah, I know. Okay, I'd go with dumber, but you said dumb, I'll go with you. Okay, doctor may also recommend rest and avoid heavy lifting or flexing. In some cases, physical therapy. We're going to go over this. Some cases, corticosteroids. Now, steroids, you can only have 3 shots per joint because it destroys the cartilage, destroys all the structures in the area. But again, if you're just a team doctor and you want to get that person on the court or the field or wherever, okay, do you care about the longevity of this person? No, you care about the score, okay? Most patients who had surgery for tendonitis can move their arms without pain and regain full range of motion. Really? Tendonitis, that's inflammation of the tendons. That means you have compromised blood supply to the area in order to have that. In most cases, tendonitis are caused by overuse. Really? Overuse. That is the biggest lie you're ever going to hear about thoracic outlet. Okay, are there patients that have this type of activity, okay, year after year after year, they're using it the same, but they don't have the overuse syndrome. Like, there's pitchers that can pitch for 10, 15, 20 years, and there's other pitchers, we just got one that was a pro ball player, and he had to retire because he had a shoulder issue. And what did the doctor say? Overuse. And I said, well, it's not from overuse, it's like, or not repetitive motion. None of that stuff makes sense. Because do you have any other people on the team that are doing a similar action and that are doing the same number of activities, but they don't have the trauma, the issue? Okay. I'm just talking about common sense and logic, okay, which is completely missing. So it's not overuse, okay? You're using a structure that has compromised blood supply or nerve supply. That's it. Forward head carriage is the key. And you can see that you've got the 4 muscles, and the 4 muscles, the rotator cuff that hold that in place, the top one is the most vulnerable. And this is why supraspinatus is the one that's most commonly injured. The problem is, if your head's forward, you're compromising the blood supply and nerve supply, all the tendons actually cross the joint, and they have a bursa sac, or a sac that's filled with this fluid. And if the fluid isn't in that sac, then the tendons rub together, and that creates inflammation, and that's where the itis comes from. So tendonitis is from the inflammatory process. Now, here's one, a guy with a surgery in his neck with the loss of curve in the neck, forward head carriage. Again, you want to, if you have compromised blood supply to it, and you have tendonitis, okay, where those tendons are inflamed. They're inflamed. Why? Because there's lack of blood flow to the joint. If you put heat on the joint and take it away, what color is the joint? Red. That's because you're tricking the body. You're increasing blood flow to the area. Increasing blood flow to the area will increase synovial fluid and bursa fluid production, and that will correct the actual problem. I mean, it's just basic. Once you've restored the curve in the neck, okay, you also got to look at the rib cage, because any spinal distortions means that, remember, that shoulder, one bony attachment, 18 muscles guide it and glide it up and down the rib cage. So you shouldn't do any exercises at all unless you restore that nerve supply. So what do? We tell them to get the curve back. Now, you've got a couple of choices here. One, a 20-pound weight, one, a 10-pound weight, okay? Now, what you need, if you have an arm of, I think my arms are just normal, okay? But if you have a normal arm like this, you need a great weight to open up that joint. So if I'm using a little 10-pound weight, it's not opening up the joint. You need, because remember, what happens is, if that rotator cuff is injured, the shoulder doesn't fall out of the socket, it falls up because you have a massive deltoid. And that socket, that labrum, is now distorted. So you're going to turn your palm forward, okay, and that turns this humerus in the socket, and then you have to have a weight to drop it down so you're forming that labrum back correctly. So when you put this in there, and I always have the patient with their arms straight, I put this down and then have them relax it so it opens it up, okay? And then you're just going to move it just a little bit forward and back. So you want to not work just the injured one. You want to work both of them. And you're going to keep the head forward. So not down like this. Keep the head forward, up. You're restoring the blood supply and nerve supply, and you're only moving butt to belly. So not lifting a lot. A simple exercise. If you still have activity, and let me tell you, the thoracic outlet is common. Airplanes, pilots, truck drivers, contractors, sports figures, military guys, okay? And I don't know why bomb disposal people have the worst shoulders I've ever seen, but all of these people, you got to understand it's all over the place. So you need enough weight to drop it down, and you're not going to be doing full range of motion. And here you can see we've got that socket, that shoulder. What do we have as the neck up there? The neck is lost the curve of the neck. You got to get the curve back. So this requires absolute correction. Now, this is what a shoulder replacement looks like. Now, they actually do drive that metal shaft into the shaft of the humerus. Okay, now I have never in my life, and I've seen probably 24 shoulder operations, have them work out. And one of the military guys, because we're close to Camp Pendleton, he said, yeah, if I do this operation, they said I can't lift overhead more than 20 pounds or 30 pounds. The guy's like 35 years old. So does that mean you can't lift your kid, when they get older? I mean, it's just crazy. You may need to have this operation if there's some kind of massive trauma to it, but this would be phenomenally rare. Now, one of the things that happens, and this is, again, with shoulder replaced, this person here was scheduled for shoulder replacement. Now, it's kind of hard, but when you look at the two shoulders, those are both her shoulders. Okay, the one on the left picture up there was jammed up, okay? The one on the right, if you look close, you can see that it dropped down a little bit. Like if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, you're going to be able to see that the picture on the left, it's jammed up. The picture on the right is more well-positioned. And so to reposition that, it's huge. But look at the missing factor. Look at the rib cage area. I mean, if you get a distorted rib cage like that, you've got that 18 muscles guiding that scapula up and down, it's not going to function well. Now, when you're doing that exercise, you want to just butt to belly very little. And this is a ligamentous-based exercise. So you want to not work the muscles. You want to keep your chin up so you're just reforming that labrum. You don't want to have the muscles firing off. Now, that's super important because when you look now, and here's one of the Marines. On the left-hand side, that's the damaged one. You can see it's almost, some doctors will call it calcium deposits, and that's ridiculous because the body's not going to randomly lay down calcium. But what happens is you've got a ligament, because all the joints are hydraulic, and it's called a capsular ligament that surrounds the joint capsule, and inside there's synovial fluid. If that shoulder is completely off, okay, and then the ligament that's only supposed to hold the fluid inside, it tends to be used more structurally. So you can call it ossification, okay, where the body's going to make it thicker than it normally would because the body doesn't do anything dumb, okay, and this is going to make it stiffer, but the body's going to stabilize it. Now the socket that this goes into, or it's called the glenoid fossa, that socket you can see has been damaged. And I don't know why bomb disposal guys have this. I talked to another Marine, and they said, they have to be so, stiff. Their body has to be one thing so they can move their hands without vibration. That might be it. I don't know. There's got to be another reason. But we were able to help him even though the shoulder was distorted. This is the worst exercise in the world for anyone with a shoulder injury if you haven't corrected the neck. Now, remember, the shoulder is jammed up. So you've got this socket that if that socket is distorted, it's already up. Okay, and this is where frozen shoulder is going to come from. Now, the physical therapists are not generally, I mean, there are some really, really good ones. I had one good one working for us down in Tijuana. But you got to restore the curve in the neck. If they're not addressing the curve in the neck or the shape of that labrum, it's dangerous because it's already out of the socket, and then you're trying to lift it. So you're lifting it in a position that's not right. And this is why, if they're not aware that that labrum is distorted, and they try and force it up, and they force it up, and stretch it up, and stretch it, and every day you go in there for your physical therapist appointment, and it hurts, and it hurts, and it hurts, and it hurts, but they say, "Ooh, look at the range of motion. You're so much better. Ooh, look at that. You're so much better. Ooh, look at that. You're so much better. Oh my gosh, that's amazing." And you're going, "Yeah, but it still hurts." Okay, that's not a clear indication that they're really helping you. You're getting a better range of motion, but they're not actually looking at it. I just thought I'd throw this in. This is Danny's x-rays. My son, semi-pro paintballer, amazing dive into the snake. If anyone plays paintball, you know the snake, man, you got to be nasty. I was on the Doritos, always on the other side, and I played pump. Okay, this guy is crazy. And it's dislocated on the left, relocated on the right. Normally, you can reposition a dislocated shoulder without an x-ray, because you're going to be able to see. But he was in so much pain, and since I got my own x-ray machine, we took the hour drive from the paintball field down and set it. But oh my gosh, just know that shoulder injuries are exquisitely painful. Exquisitely painful. Now, again, reversal of the curve to restored curve. Okay, this is fantastically important. So when you're looking at a restored curve in the neck, and this is before and after, this is the key that you have to work to get that area corrected. Now, the curve in the neck is not just for shoulder issues. Parkinson's, okay, there's loss of curve in the neck, and you're looking at normal, abnormal, abnormal. Now, how old do you need to be to restore a curve? All you got to do is have a heartbeat. Here's a gal, 76 years old, brilliant, beautiful, amazing, and classy. before and after, and you can see significant changes. Now, one of the most important things is to correct that curve in the neck. Remember, it's attached to the thoracic area too. You've got to restore that curve in the low back, and this is why we use a non-compressible foam that's fantastic. It's placed at the bottom of the elbows, the bottom of the roll. Like what I suggest to patients that I haven't met or they haven't been in here, use a liter bottle of water, plastic liter bottle of water, that way it won't break. But you put it back there for 20 minutes, take it out for 10 minutes, 20 minutes in, 10 minutes out. So the whole time you're sitting, you're repositioning that thoracic area and making a huge difference. Then you got to do the curve in the neck. And this could be as simple as putting your elbows on a table, lifting up, and deep breathing. That will help restore and take the pressure off the outlet to the thoracic area. That's why it drives me nuts. If someone says thoracic outlet syndrome, it's like, dude, okay. And this is a little TheraCurve, but really, if you have a shirt, you're not, you don't care if it gets wrinkled. You pull down with about 2 to 3 pounds of pressure, point your chin up to the ceiling, look straight ahead and relax. So you do 100 of these a day and minimum. If you're an office worker, try doing them 10 to 15 every hour. That would be fantastic. Now, cervical adjusting, the diet, exercise, emotional health, all those things are important, but you cannot correct the curve in the neck unless you're actually adjusting it. Why? Because you got to create inflammation at that level of the joint if there's loss of curve. And when you're adjusting, I know everybody's seen karate movies. I have too. I love them. Okay, I still love them. Okay. You always see somebody twisting the heck out of the neck. Well, when you're adjusting, you turn the head no more than 10 to 15 degrees. Use generally this finger, which is the safe one. The other one you change lanes with, but this one's safe. Okay. And all you do is about 2 to 3 pounds of pressure, and it's just along those lines. So you're not turning or twisting. So the adjustment is really, really simple. I adjusted on this, and he actually was a student when this was taken. Now he's a really good doc. So what do you do to correct the shoulder? Okay, and this is for every thoracic outlet syndrome. Number one, no end range of motion, okay, until you fix the labrum. I mean, that's just like basic common sense. And if you're a sports guy, airplane pilot, trucker, contractor, and can everybody in here take a lot of time off, or does work kind of cut into your free time? Okay, me too. You can't take a lot of time off. Okay, so do the exercise a couple times throughout the day. That'll reform the labrum, and you'll be able to get through the day. Just know that you got to restore the curve in the neck. So no end range of motion. No shoulder rehab without a cervical and thoracic correction. Why? Because, I mean, if you're trying to work the muscle or work the tissue when you got compromised blood supply or nerve supply to it, it's not going to work. Okay, it just won't work. Got to correct the forward head carriage. No ice therapy. Well, on chronic shoulder injuries, ice in the first 24 hours or immediately after, you've just been traumatized, it's a good idea. But after the first 24 hours, man, heat is going to increase macrophage activity. So these cells, they're going to chew up damaged tissue, are going to get active. I mean, it's just brilliant. And understand that the drugs that they're going to give you to decrease the symptoms aren't going to help heal the tissue. So, omega-3s, fantastic from small fish, anchovy, mackerel, sardine, great pain relief, and it actually works. High dose vitamin C, great pain relief, and it actually works. I mean, it's brilliant. So when we talk about this, we talk about physical, chemical, emotional stress. Thoracic outlet syndrome, forget the syndrome part. You got the outlet to the thoracic area, it's blocked. What's the only thing above the outlet to the thoracic that could block it? This is just a clue. It's like, gosh. So you got to get the proper nerve supply to the joint. You got to get regular exercise. You've got to get appropriate nutrition. Rest, is that important? Vital. Okay. And prayer and meditation. So you're connecting with an energy beyond you. And when we learn more about the energy in your thought, okay, and connecting with God, we always say, we move the bone, God does the healing, okay? And don't worry about that. If you don't believe in him, he still believes in you. Now, it's true. Okay, now we're going to get into an area that pre-2020 I could confidently speak about, and it might have pissed off a few people in the pharmaceutical industry, but we still had free speech. Okay, so now with our infrastructure now, thank you for those that are on YouTube and Facebook. I really appreciate you. Please forward this stuff, like this, subscribe to it, and those that are supporting us, God bless you. It's really appreciated. And we're going to get into the censored portion now. So I'll see you next week. Same bat channel, same bat time. Okay, my mom was one of the associate casting directors on the Batman TV series, so I can actually say that. Mom used to bring me scripts. I'll see you later.